Hello and welcome along to the third football show of the new season. Delighted to say in the studio this week is a former Rangers, Villa and Scotland boss in Alex McLeish. He'll get his thoughts on a cracking weekend of football very shortly. But don't forget, coupons are available for you online and in stores. And as always, when both teams score, it's goals galore.
Think the fixture list is full of goals? Then check out our Goals Galore bonus coupon. Pick 4 correct matches and a £10 stake will turn into £100. Pick 5 correct matches and it will return £170. When both teams score, it's goals galore.
Welcome everybody to the studio. Welcome along to Alex McLeish as well, our guest. It's been a cracking weekend, a couple of weekends so far, hasn't it, Alex? What a start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I was at Old Trafford for the first game, Man United v Leeds, and United started on fire, similar to, I suppose, last season's result against Leeds. It seems to be Leeds are the whipping boys at Old Trafford in these last 2 games, but great performance of United, and the performances in the last 2 games by the City particular. You know, we're still to see the real City coming, although they had a good win last week. But this weekend, very interesting.
Yeah, before we get to that, and regardless of the results so far, just how good has it been to have fans back in the stadium? You would have had 75,000 around you in that game.
I found it really strange watching fans, seeing the stadiums full again, but it's magnificent to see them back. And as you know, you see a lot of the results, there's a lot of teams have really missed the fans, you know, and a lot of teams rely heavily on the fans. Every team does, but there are some teams who have suffered more than others.
Now, this is my first time with you this season, so who did you fancy for the title beforehand? And I know we're only 2 weeks in, but have you changed your mind at all?
I change it every week. Well, again, City are the team to beat, I feel, but, you know, it's obviously, you know, United are making some waves over the last couple of years, but I still feel that City are the strongest.
Okay, impressed by Chelsea. It seems to be everybody's on the Chelsea bandwagon at the moment.
Well, you know, I am kind of betraying my the kind of team I go and see when I'm down in London. It's Chelsea, but you know, City are still a team to beat, I think. But Chelsea have made an unbelievable strides, you know, over since Tuchel came in. I think Frank would probably got there eventually as well, but Tuchel came in and totally transformed the whole thing. And Chelsea now, when you see the power they have in terms of buying players, and they're up there with the Man City.
Okay, we'll get to Chelsea shortly, but you mentioned City, the team to beat, and what a match we have in store to kick off the weekend. It is Manchester City taking on Arsenal, 12:30 at the Etihad, Alex. City clear favourites. They've won the last 8 Premier League meetings. The last time Arsenal won here was way back in 2015.
Well, not a good record, but Aubameyang is in great form after a superb hat-trick in a cup game during the week. But you would expect Arsenal to give them a game after a really, really poor start. And I guess last night gives them a bit of confidence, and especially getting their talisman back, because I think Aubameyang has scored a lot of goals against City, hasn't he? I think he tends to get a goal against them.
Yeah, they're actually unbeaten in the last 20 games in which he's scored as well, so he is definitely the talisman. It will ease a little bit of pressure, won't it, on Mikel Arteta, but still, no goals, no wins in the Premier League yet. Yeah. So if they get a hiding here, the pressure's still on, isn't it?
I still feel it's a hard game, regardless of Aubameyang having a wee bit of good luck against City in recent games and the past games. I do feel that the start that Arsenal have made, okay, last night, exception, get a bit of confidence, but it's a very difficult task going against City, and I would tip City as winners for that one.
Yeah, they got back on track, didn't they, in style against Norwich last time out. Right, let's have a correct score from you first of all.
A correct score, I'd say I'll go for City 3-1.
Okay, City 3-1. And I must mention Sterling, by the way, he's got 8 goals against Arsenal, brilliant record, including both winners last season. So is he an idea of a likely goal scorer for you or anybody else?
Well, Sterling is always likely to score, you know, and especially when you have a kind of Indian sign over a particular team, you always feel as if you're going to score again. So you know, you would expect him to be among the scorers if he starts.
Yeah, he's got embarrassment of riches, hasn't he, at the moment? I guess that's
Yeah.
the only thing you can't call it.
Yeah, fantastic Euros as well, and he's such a dangerous player.
Okay, let's move on then to Aston Villa taking on Brentford, the first of 3 o'clock kickoffs at Villa Park. Your former club, of course. They are the clear favourites. Brentford hoping to win here for the first time, and of course Dean Smith playing his former club as well. Interesting game.
Yeah, and Villa had one defeat, but as we know, but you would expect them to win in the home tie, and especially Dean's old team. But in saying that, I think Brentford are a really dangerous team, and I really love the football that they play. And I know that they have done the Moneyball type situation over the years, and the recruitment has been fantastic. They've made money out of some of the players, but they just seem to keep popping up with one or two others. And I really like the football that Brentford play.
Okay, let's get a correct score out of this one.
I'm going to sit on the fence for this one and say that it's a draw.
Okay, must mention Danny Ings as well. He can become the first Villa player since '92 to score in his first 3 league games. He's been impressive, hasn't he?
Well, you couldn't rule Danny Ings out in any game in terms of backing against him not to score, because he's so dangerous in the box, and his goal last week was fantastic.
Okay, let's move on to one of the other 3 o'clock games then. It is Brighton taking on Eberton at the Amex. We make Brighton the favourites after a couple of wins. A lot of people were impressed by them last season. They just didn't take their chances, but maybe now they're starting to do that.
Yeah, and that's another one who played great football. Brighton, the amount of times I watched them last season and thought, they just can't score. They need a goal, because as you say, they do need a goal scorer. Now they've started with a couple of victories, and it's gave them that bit of confidence going into any game that they appear in. And I would again go for Brighton.
Yeah, they're unbeaten in the last 6 here as well. And despite being unbeaten under Rafa Eberton, they are leaking a few goals, which is unusual for him.
Yeah, Rafa going back to Everton was a bit like me going to Aston Villa after Birmingham. He's gone to Everton after Liverpool, and in my first few games at Aston Villa, we had a really good start. We started with a couple of victories, and I think there was a draw here and there, but by and large it was a great start. And Rafa had a great start, and obviously long may it continue for Everton fans. But
okay.
I still feel that the home team have got the edge in this one.
Brighton for you then, correct score?
Brighton for me, I'd say I'll go for a 2-1 Brighton.
Okay, 2-1 to Brighton. Maybe Mopé to score as well. He's got this in the first 2 games. He's already on the score sheet. Only managed 8 last season, but a good start for him too.
That's right. Confidence is everything.
Okay, if you fancy Brighton to win and both teams to score, that's available at 9-2 as well on the Goals Galore Extra. Right, let's move on to Newcastle taking on Southampton at St James's. 3 o'clock kickoff once again. 2 sides who tipped to struggle this season. We make Newcastle the slight favourites. They've actually only lost 1 of the last 17 meetings here, would you believe, against the Saints. They're not scoring many, are they, Newcastle? But Southampton have been poor at the back away from home, notably. So maybe a chance to them here.
Yeah, and they had a big result during the week. Southampton. I don't mean a big result in terms of the status of their opposition. It was a huge confidence booster with the amount of goals. But I do see Newcastle getting off the mark here, and they have a pretty decent record against them. And I see Newcastle edging this one, getting their first 3 points on the board.
Correct score from you?
I'll say, again, I'll go for a 2-1 Newcastle.
Okay, 2-1 to Newcastle. Maybe Joe Willock can get amongst the goals as well. He scored 7 in a row, didn't he, last season, including in this game?
He's been doing well. Yeah, he's been a great buy for them.
Okay, 11-2 if you fancy Newcastle and Willock in the Wincast. Right, Norwich taking on Leicester, another 3 o'clock game. Doesn't get it any easier, does he, for the Canaries? You've already had Liverpool, you've had City. They've lost 12 Premier League games in a row, going back to the last time they were in the top tier as well. But their last win was actually against Leicester, and they're unbeaten in the last 6 meetings here against the Foxes. So they've had a little Indian sign over them. Well,
they have, and Leicester probably a bit disappointed with their last result, but they have a super team, as we know. But I will say that this is where the Canaries will get the first point.
Okay, a point, a draw for you?
Draw, yeah.
Okay, a score draw?
1-1.
1-1, okay. Interesting to see who Leicester play up front as well, because Ian Atshow's not been starting, so it's a great record. 15 goals in 18 games, but he's not being able to get on the pitch. Who would you pick out of those three? You've got Daka coming in as well.
Oh, well, I mean, Vardy's a talisman, isn't he? But Iheanacho had, again, is one of these guys who you always worry about him on the field when you're the opposition defender, and due to that kind of statistic that he has that you've spoken about, you can see him getting in.
Yeah, maybe he'll finally get his chance.
Could be getting in, yeah.
Another 3 o'clock kickoff. It is West Ham taking on Crystal Palace at the London Stadium. The Hammers top of the table going into the weekend, scoring lots of goals as well.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, it's fantastic. I really thought they'd made some great recruitment last year. With the 2 Czech players, and when Scotland came to play Czech Republic, I was a bit fearful of it because of the form of the Hammers guys, and obviously Klitsch as well, who playing at Roma, and I thought that the Hammers would have a great season. But the fact that they had a great season, that they would be a tough game for Scotland. But it was brilliant recruitment. They've started the season on fire, and I see the Hammers victory.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because at home there was a bit of pressure on them with the fans coming back.
Yeah,
Many people said they benefited from the fans not being there that season, but a great start for them at home as well.
Well, it is, and the fans, you can see how much it meant to the fans being back and how much the Hammers on the field responded to that.
Okay, well, they're odds on to win their first 3 league games in the top tier for the first time since 1983. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I would go along with that.
Okay, correct score for you?
I say 2-0.
2-0, comfortable win for the Hammers. Maybe Antonio to get on amongst the goals as well. 4-1 to get the first. He's just broken that record, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a machine, absolute machine. He looks a very difficult guy to play against. Just the turn they had during the week, and fizzed a beautiful shot into the bottom corner. Fantastic.
Okay, let's move on to one of the games, of course, of the weekend. It is Liverpool taking on Chelsea, the first meeting of 2 of the big 4, and both clubs putting their perfect records on the line.
Yep, but it's a battle of the giants in terms of the managers as well, isn't it? And I would fancy a draw here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the managers. That's an interesting subplot, isn't it? Klopp against Tuchel. They know each other well.
Yeah, they do. The two great German managers, and they have been an absolute credit to their clubs. And Tuchel obviously before Klopp being at PSG. But the home again. I think Liverpool were a team who, remember, was it 6 games they lost at Anfield,
including against Chelsea.
We could never ever have foreseen, but it shows you the power of the Liverpool fans.
Yep.
I don't see a clear winner in this one, and I would go for 1-1.
When we talk about the goal scorers as well, it's interesting to note Lukaku, because he's coming back into the Premier League, got his debut goal, didn't he, last week, but he's up against Van Dijk, who's never lost a league game here at Anfield. Be very interesting to see how those two match up.
Well, that's an amazing statistic, and it just tells you what a Rolls Royce that Van Dijk is, because back in the day, I don't think Ajax or Feyenoord, the big clubs, even gave him a trial. But he's blossomed into one of the world's best centre backs, and when I hear that stat, then you tend to think that Liverpool won't lose any goals. But I'll go for a 1-1.
Okay, 1-1. If you do fancy Lukaku, by the way, with Chelsea to win, that's at 11-4 win cast. And that should be a cracking game, of course. Moving on to a game you know all too well. It is the Old Firm, the first of the season on Sunday at Ibrox, Alex. And, well, the odds are completely flipped in midweek because we've heard about Rangers' COVID crisis. They were the clear favourites. Now it's Celtic. You've got the likes of the manager, of course, Gerrard out, McGregor, Tavernier, Kent, all isolating at the moment as well. But they are unbeaten in the last 6 meetings and they've won the last 3. So maybe don't write them off just yet.
No, you can't afford to write them off. And Celtic started the season with a bit of difficulty, but they've since come on to a couple of great results. I think they've scored 6 goals in each of the 2 last league games. Therefore, you would tend to think that the confidence is coming back to the group. But in saying that, they're going to Ibrox. Rangers do have this COVID alert, but I would feel that Steve Gerrard will be asking his players to go and attack the Celtic defence, because I'm not so sure that the Celtic defence is fully integrated into maybe what they might become. But so therefore I would say that Rangers should be very aggressive against Celtic in terms of the attack mindedness that they have. But again, countering that, Postecoglou is famed for his attacking football. So this could be some game. I'll tell you, it could be some game.
It should be entertaining at least. And of course, with the crowd back, it makes such a big difference, doesn't it? To this fixture in particular, some games perhaps not, but this fixture, it needs a crowd, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, people ask me over the years, you know, what does it feel like being in that technical area? Being the Rangers manager or being the Celtic manager. So I've got the experience as a Rangers manager, and you just can't explain it. And you need to be there, you know. And every person who I've met in the world before that know I was associated with Rangers are saying, "Can you get me a ticket for an Old Firm game someday?" You know, and that we would need a million of a crowd to be able to accommodate all those people. But in saying that, I feel that Rangers will try and get at Celtic, get the back, and it'll be 2-1 Rangers.
Okay, 2-1 to Rangers, would have expected nothing less from Alex. In terms of the goal scorers, McLeish finally put his Old Firm woes behind him, and he's scoring home and away last season.
I think he's on a roll now, you know, so I would expect that he'll be confident, you know, playing against Celtic, whereas in the past, before he got his two goals last season in consecutive games, he probably was a bit reticent in some of his finishing up front. So now I would think he'll be getting into that game, if he's not got COVID, with great confidence.
Okay, cannot wait for that one. And after a quick detour to Scotland, let's go back to the Premier League, shall we, and Turf Moor, because on Sunday it is Burnley taking on Leeds. And well, this should be a really interesting game because Leeds are clear favourites, but Burnley desperate for the points. They lost at home in their opening game against Brighton despite taking the lead. Leeds won home and away to 0 last season as well. So can Burnley get anything out of it? They need it.
Yeah, absolutely they need it. And I think they started the season pretty slowly last year as well. It took them 4 or 5 games to get a point on the board, if my memory serves me right. But as we know, Sean Dyche is a great competitor, and you know I would expect Burnley to get something from this game. Okay. But I'm a fan of Leeds, and although I seen them at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago getting a thrashing, and they were in the thirds, they were very, very far apart, and they get exploited by a really good United team. I still see that up and down with Leeds. You know, they get a bad result one week, the next week they respond with a fantastic performance and a victory that you just don't expect. And that's why they remain a very dangerous team to Burnley in their kind of indifferent start. Yes, they got the victory against Newcastle in the Cup, but I would expect this to be a very close one, and I would go for Leeds 2-1.
Okay, Leeds to get the victory then. Let's move on to Tottenham taking on Watford. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff also in the Premier League. Spurs have got this great start to the season. 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. Wow. Harry Kane notably staying at the club as well. What's your reaction to that news? I couldn't believe it. You know, I really couldn't. I thought that Harry was a certainty to go, just with the kind of little vibes that he wanted to go and go to a team that had a really, really great chance of winning the Premier League. You would say the Spurs have got an outside chance of winning it due to the quality of other teams going against them. But for Harry to say that he's going to stay meantime, what does that mean? I'm staying for the summer, you know. So does that take him to the January window? I really don't know. But it was a surprise that he stayed. But it must be like winning the lotto for the manager. No. I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere there as well on Sunday. They are the clear favourites, but Watford did draw against them a couple of times, both meetings in the Premier League.
I was at one of the games last year, a couple of years ago. It might have been if the COVID, if I'm not getting my COVID dates right. And they had a really tough game against Watford that particular time. I think it was 1 each.
Yeah.
But I'd got to go the way that Spurs have started. And I think there's a bit of confidence in there, and the manager has given them obviously a bit of confidence, and the results tell you that. And I go for a Spurs 2-0 victory.
Okay, and we've got to talk about Harry Kane potentially getting on the score sheet as well. He's actually yet to score against Watford in 7 home appearances against the Hornets, but
Well,
I would imagine
never knew that one.
With the atmosphere, him being at the club, committing his future, surely he gets on the score sheet, doesn't he?
I'll be backing them. Yeah.
Simple as that.
I'll be backing Kane to get at least one of the goals.
Okay, let's move on to the last game then of the weekend. 4:30 kickoff at Molineux. It is Wolves taking on Manchester United. United hoping to bounce back from dropping points against Southampton last week, but they are 27 away games unbeaten in the Premier League. One more, they'll break the Invincibles record from Arsenal back in the day. So it's still an amazing achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, you know, why was that? You try and work out the mental side of that, and it's very difficult to understand why. But I think they became a bit more solid, and maybe at Man United at the home grounds at Old Trafford, that they possibly without the fans driving them on, and they maybe became a little bit more nervous. They played a wee bit more nervously at home sometimes. I mean, they won a lot at home, but there was games that you'd expected them to do better and mount a real challenge to winning the title. In the end, City ran away with it, but United definitely looking, I think, really strong this season again.
We've got a good record as well recently against Wolves, 6 games unbeaten now, and they've also got a new manager, changes at the club, made a slow start so far.
Yeah. Sorry, who are we talking about?
About Wolves, yeah.
Oh, Wolves, yeah. Yeah, they made a slow start, but again, when you see that the players that Nuno brought in there when he first went, it was like a Portuguese select team, wasn't it? You know, and he brought a lot of real quality players in. He was backed really strongly by the board, the directors. They spent a lot of money, and it was no surprise to see Wolves flying up that league with the technique and skill that they had in the team. And now, you know, they have a wee slight bad start, but again, you know, they come back with a good result last week, and you know, I can see them finishing mid-table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regards to this game, how do you see it going? United odds-on favourites?
I've got to say United away victory, yeah, 2-0.
Okay, that's it then for the Premier League. What about a best bet across the 10 games, do you think? I know you're pretty sweet on Rangers.
Rangers, so I went for 2-1 in that one, did I?
You did.
I think, yeah. So what's the best bet? You think the best bet? Yeah, I would say Rangers 2-1.
Okay, Rangers to get the victory. As I say, we would expect nothing less. Cannot wait for that game. Of course, you got Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea to come as well. So lots in store this weekend. Make sure you pick up your coupons. Get to betfred.com for all the latest odds and offers. And if you're in store as well, we've got plenty of pushes for you over the next few days. That's it for this week. Thanks to Alex and company, and we'll see you again soon.
Think the fixture list is full of goals? Then check out our Goals Galore bonus coupon. Pick 4 correct matches and a £10 stake will turn into £100. Pick 5 correct matches and it will return £170. When both teams score, it's Goals Galore.